Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Alec Drew from the Virtual Business Owners Network, sharing about 5 tips for better public speaking. I suppose, just let me give you the background of what prompted me to make this presentation. I was at the Tech Connect live event on Tuesday, and I had been asked if I would just open it with a few words and close it with a few words. And then I was asked to moderate a panel for a panel discussion there at lunchtime. And I also had a talk that I was delivering there, which is a keynote that I have called The Unintended Consequence of Technology. But then they decided to jump on me and say, well, seeing that you're here, would you not manage the main stage for us and meet and greet people and get them on and get them off quickly and do all the bits and pieces that's involved around public speaking? So I said, why not? I mean, you might as well, if you're going to be doing things, get involved, and I was quite happy to do so. And I suppose what really sort of inspired me to put this together was really it was the quality of so many speakers that I saw up there. And unfortunately, there's a sort of sense that everybody in their own mind is a public speaker without realizing there's actually a craft behind it. So I just wanted to suggest that, can I give people some tips around it? To give you an example, the very first speaker that came up was a very nice woman for one of obviously the companies that were there. And I asked her the question, will you be on time? She had 20 minutes. And I said, will you be on time? And she said, yes, I've rehearsed it. 15 minutes and I'm done. I said, that's fantastic, because that means we'll keep in time and we'll have a couple of spare minutes in case we need them. She nearly had to be hauled off after the 20 minutes was up. So she totally miscalculated. But this is quite typical, because people actually don't understand some of the key points which I'm about to share with you around that. On another issue of turning up, we had somebody else who turned up literally as they were supposed to be getting on stage to speak. But you have to be mic'd up to do it, and that needs a couple of minutes and to be tested. And then they were complaining because they didn't get their full allotted time. And it's just out of good manners. And I won't say it broke into a row, but he was kind of upset. He said, you can't take me off. I've still another 5 minutes or whatever it is to do. I said, but you're being disrespectful to the other speaker who's waiting here. You know, there's other people. What are we supposed to do? Just kind of cancel them out because you're disorganized? So it's very unfair. So if you're ever going to be speaking, make sure that you are there well ahead of time and that you check out about being mic'd up and things like that. So anyway, let me just move to the first one of these. This is probably the most important part. If you are writing a talk that you're going to deliver in public, 110 to 120 words per minute is about the max you should have. What tends to happen is people write out a talk and then read it back to themselves as if or read it aloud if they're doing any sort of practice, but forgetting about the pauses that are needed, any sort of audience interaction and bits and pieces that happen. So 110, 120 words is the maximum you should have if you're making or delivering a talk from a stage to an audience. And that makes a substantial difference in getting that all together for you. Timing is so important for talks, and it's the number one problem that I find, that speakers want to go over their allotted time, irregardless of the people who are there behind them. And if you have maybe 10 speakers in a row and everybody went over by about 2 or 3 minutes, the last speaker and possibly the second last speaker would be eliminated from being able to deliver their talk. It also causes chaos in other places as well. So for example, if you're at a conference and you're one of the key delegates delivering there, and I've seen this, by the way, from professional speakers going 15, 20 minutes over their time. And there's people in kitchens tearing their hair out because they're on a very set timer as well. And they've staff ready to deliver meals and get people in and get them seated, maybe coming up to a lunchtime. And it's so disrespectful, and it just discommodes so many people. So if I say to you those number of words and stick to your time, stick to your time. As somebody who's a professional speaker, it's happened to me that I have maybe a 30 or 40 minute talk to deliver. But somebody ahead of me has gone maybe 10 minutes over. And I will say to the organizer, do you want me to clip 10 off mine to bring you back on time? And they're delighted when you do it. So I can clip 10 minutes out of a talk as I'm talking to help them move on. Typically, again, what I tend to find is people come up and want to throw the kitchen sink at it. You have a message to deliver. What is it? So you tell people, you know, what you're going to talk about. Then you talk about it. And then you tell them what you just talked about. So it's very, very important that you have a singular message with a call to action. And also, what do you want to happen as a result of the talk that you've just delivered? Do you want them to think differently, act differently, you know, behave differently, feel differently? What do you want the audience to do? So bear that in mind when you're writing your talk. So when the audience leave, have they something singular to remember? They go, ah, yeah, that's it. Or are you just throwing so many things at them that they go away confused? And if they go away confused, then you failed to deliver the message, the key message that you wanted to deliver for them. Again, people turn up with PowerPoint. PowerPoint is fine if used correctly. However, people don't use PowerPoint the way I believe that they should, and I'll talk about that in a second. However, you may have sent your PowerPoint to the organizers for the talk, but please make sure that you have it on a USB with you as well. The number of times people turn up and their presentation's been lost, and they are lost now to go with that as well. So carry your presentation on a USB with you so you can hand it to the tech people at the stage to help you out. Equally, turn up early. Have a look at what the sort of background of where you are. And what I found at the stage of the Tech Connect was there was a lot of light coming in, which was sort of dampening down the pictures or the PowerPoint presentations that were being thrown up behind. So we had to kind of get that adjusted. Equally, the sound wasn't right. Also, you should get on stage. If you're going to be on the stage and going to be presenting, you should get on the stage and walk it. Just have a look and see, where can you see? What sort of obstacles are there? You're going to be blocked out from part of the audience by something or other. In places where there's a large audience and it's quite dark, there may be a situation where you actually can't see past the first or second row. So therefore, you need to get some sort of perspective where the audience is as you look left and right and up and down, because when you're delivering a talk, you should be engaging people, and you sometimes have to imagine where they are and sort of put a 10-second look in that area. Now, the whole idea of that is that people perceive that you're looking at them directly, or that group of people in that small area. So there's some form of engagement. But if you can't see them, you have to imagine that they're there. So have you checked that out? Also, are you being videoed? So for example, you may have requested that you're videoed, which is great. And if you can get that, because I love to get a video of myself when I'm talking, purely because I use it then as a method of looking for the bits and pieces and problems and issues that you have. And we all have these little affectations. And for example, I keep just finding a new one to replace the one I thought I just got rid of. So they're a great way just to kind of self-critique yourself. But again, when you're getting a video, if you're going to use it for promotional purposes, take your badge off, because you're often wearing a lanyard or something on you. Just take it off. So when you're on stage, because it's just a distraction, it's annoying. And also then it limits the usage of that video that you might have. Again, just to understand the room and the dynamics of the room and how the sound is, if there's other speakers ahead of you, go down to the back of the room and listen and see, can you hear what they're saying? Because you may have to increase the volume of your voice to project yourself down to the back of the room if it's not working for other people. I don't, or very seldom use, I was going to say I don't use PowerPoint. What am I doing? I'm using PowerPoint. There we go. I seldom use PowerPoint. My sort of keynote is a 40-minute talk, and I don't use slides. My great criticism of people using PowerPoint is They use it as a crutch. And I saw so many examples of that the other day when I was there on different stages. People write a talk, and then they put it all onto PowerPoint, as many slides as they can, and then they start reading it back to the audience. That is awful for the audience, because number one is they've already read everything on that slide, if it's of a size that is legible, but they've already read every piece of that before you've got through the second line. That means they're now on their phones and checking out their social media or sending texts or whatever they're doing. You've lost them completely. The best idea with PowerPoint is either to have a phrase or a sentence or or an image, and to put it there that engages them. They're going, what's that about? So let me listen to hear what the speaker is going to say. But when you reveal everything by way of PowerPoint and all the words there, you are doing yourself a disservice and you're losing your audience straight away. In fact, a lot of the top speakers might throw an image up on PowerPoint, leave it for 3 or 4 seconds, then remove it. So they have a blank screen behind them, and then they start talking because they don't want to compete with the image that's around them. So I'm just suggesting, just be careful of that. PowerPoint should not be used as a crutch, and it's very, very poor. Let's see if there's anything else. Yes, also, if you are using PowerPoint, be careful of embedded videos. Again, more people run into technical issues with things like that. Oh, let me show you this video. Then it doesn't work, and the whole talk just gets disrupted. And also the sound from a lot of these videos is very poor. So people can't hear them, so they disengage as well. You should have a good look at what you're doing just to make sure. Practice. I was in a competition going back about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I can't remember, to represent the Professional Speaking Association, the Ireland end of it. And so I won the competition to represent Ireland. My talk was 5 minutes. There were 16 hours of rehearsal went into that 5 minutes to win it. And people were saying, how on earth could you put that in? That's what it needed. But what it did for me was, it helped me build an inbuilt clock into myself, that I can stand up now. Somebody said, speak for 15, 20, 30 minutes. I can do it without a timer around me. And I'm usually within 30 seconds of it. You need to practice. You need to practice out loud. You need to then listen back to yourself. And if you're writing a talk, it's quite often you might do it on something like Word, but there's no substitute. And then when you've kind of refined it on Word, then to sit down and write it longhand onto paper, because what that'll help do is embed it within you. Practice is so, so important. And if you ever see any very, very good speakers up there who seem to be quite impromptu with the way they talk and the way they engage audiences, and they look really professional, they're the ones who have practiced more than anybody else. So I'm hoping that those few tips will help you. There's a lot of other things involved. People think it's easy. For example, stagecraft. There's a lot around how the stage operates, how you should be performing on the stage, etc., and props and use thereabout. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I'm hoping those sort of 5 tips have been of value for you. So there we go. Does anybody any questions and answers that they need?
Go on, Amit, you go first.
Sorry, no, mine was more of a comment just in